Walk into any gun store and you'll find two AR-15s standing side by side, one priced around $500 and the other 4 times that, yet running the same caliber, the same magazines, the same basic design Eugene Stoner engineered generations ago. Most buyers assume the higher price means a better rifle, and sometimes that's true, but not always for the reasons you'd expect. Here's what actually separates them. To keep this fair, we're not putting a blemished bargain bin receiver up against a custom competition rifle. We're comparing legitimate, well-reviewed guns at 2 realistic price points. On the budget side, think Palmetto State Armory's PA-15, Ruger's AR-556, and Smith & Wesson's M&P 15 Sport 3, all landing somewhere between $500 and $850. On the premium side, think Bravo Company's Rec CE-16, Daniel Defense's DDM-4 V7, and Geissele's Super Duty, all priced well north of $1,600. Every one of these rifles is chambered in 5.56, runs the same direct impingement operating system, and accepts the same magazines. So where does that extra $1,000 or more actually go? We're breaking it down piece by piece. Reliability, accuracy, build quality and materials, durability, aftermarket compatibility, and which one actually fits your specific use case. Start with the factor most buyers care about above everything else. Will the rifle run when you pull the trigger? A decade ago, the honest answer was that cheap ARs earned their reputation. Undersized gas ports, poorly fitted bolt carriers, and inconsistent quality control produced real, documented malfunctions. That reputation has stuck around far longer than it deserves. Independent testing labs that run these rifles through 500 to 1,000 rounds of mixed ammunition now report something surprising. The PA-15, the AR-556, and the Sport 3 typically finish those tests with 0 or 1 malfunction, putting them in roughly the same statistical range as rifles costing 3 times as much. The AR-15 platform has simply matured. Manufacturing tolerances that used to separate a good rifle from a bad one are now achievable on a mass production line, and the reputable budget brands have caught up. So does that mean reliability is a solved problem across every price point? Not quite. Where premium rifles still separate themselves is under sustained abuse, thousands of rounds fired in quick succession, sand and mud intentionally packed into the action, extreme cold, extreme heat. Bravo Company built its reputation supplying rifles under military and law enforcement contracts, which means every Rec CE-16 that ships has to survive testing protocols designed to simulate years of hard use, compressed into a handful of range sessions. Daniel Defense and Geissele run comparable torture testing before a rifle ever reaches a dealer's shelf. If you're a casual shooter putting a couple hundred rounds through your rifle a few times a year, you will likely never encounter the conditions where that extra testing matters. If you're carrying that rifle professionally, or you expect it to function after being neglected in a truck bed through a brutal summer, that torture testing stops being a marketing bullet point and starts being the entire reason you paid extra. There's also a quieter reliability factor that has nothing to do with the rifle itself. Ammunition sensitivity. Some budget rifles, particularly ones with tighter, match-oriented chambers, run noticeably less smoothly on cheap steel-cased ammunition than a mil-spec chambered rifle designed to eat anything you feed it. And magazines matter just as much as the rifle. A $400 rifle paired with worn-out, no-name magazines will jam far more than a $2,000 rifle running the same magazines. Before you credit or blame the receiver for a malfunction, rule out the magazine and the ammunition first, because in the field, those two variables cause more stoppages than the rifle itself ever does. Accuracy is where marketing gets the most aggressive, and where the real explanation is more mechanical than mystical. Two manufacturing choices drive almost all of the accuracy difference between a budget rifle and a premium one: the barrel and the chamber cut inside it. Cold hammer forged, chrome-lined barrels, the kind you'll find on a Daniel Defense or a mil-spec pattern BCM upper, are expensive to produce because the process compresses steel around a mandrel under enormous pressure, then adds a chrome lining that resists heat and corrosion at the cost of a small amount of raw precision. Budget rifles more commonly use button-rifled barrels finished with a nitride or melanite coating, sometimes called salt bath nitriding, which is cheaper to apply and counterintuitively often produces tighter groups when the barrel is new. Then there's the chamber itself. Many budget rifles use a standard 5.56 NATO chamber cut for maximum reliability across every kind of ammunition. Some premium and mid-tier rifles use a .223 wheeled chamber, a hybrid design that tightens tolerances just enough to improve accuracy with quality ammunition, while still safely running standard 5.56. In practical terms, a well-built budget rifle today will typically group between 1 and 1.5 minutes of angle, meaning your shots land within roughly 1.5 inches of each other at 100 yards. A premium rifle with a quality barrel and a tighter chamber can shrink that to under 1 minute of angle, sometimes closer to 1/2 inch with match-grade ammunition. That's a real measurable difference on paper. But ask yourself honestly what you're using the rifle for. At typical range distances, home defense distances, or even most hunting distances, the difference between 1.5 inches and 1/2 inch of group size is invisible to anyone who isn't shooting off a bench with a chronograph. Ammunition selection, trigger control, and your own fundamentals will affect your accuracy far more than the gap between these two barrels ever will. 2 more details worth knowing before you shop by spec sheet alone. Twist rate, usually stamped as something like 1 turn in 7 inches or 1 turn in 8, determines how well a barrel stabilizes different bullet weights, and it's largely independent of price. A budget rifle with a 1 in 7 twist can stabilize heavier match bullets just as well as a premium rifle with the same twist rate. So don't assume a faster twist is a premium-only feature. Free float handguards matter more than twist rate for practical accuracy because they keep the barrel from contacting anything, sling swivels, gas blocks, your own support hand, that could flex it and throw off your point of impact under heat and pressure. Free floating used to be a premium-only upgrade. Today, it's standard equipment on nearly every rifle in this comparison, budget included, which has done more to close the real-world accuracy gap than any barrel material change ever did. This is the category where the marketing language gets the most misleading, because both budget and premium manufacturers use almost identical raw materials. Forged 775 T6 aluminum receivers, the aerospace-grade alloy every AR-15 brand loves to mention on the box, are now the industry standard from top to bottom. Palmetto State Armory forges from 7075. So does Daniel Defense. That part of the sales pitch stopped being a genuine differentiator years ago. Where the real difference lives is in tolerances you can't see from the outside. Premium manufacturers machine their upper and lower receivers to tighter fit specifications, which reduces the wobble you sometimes feel when you shake a budget rifle with the 2 halves pinned together. They apply more consistent anodizing, which affects long-term wear resistance more than looks. And critically, they hold tighter tolerances on the part that matters most for function and safety, the bolt carrier group. A quality bolt carrier group should be shot-peened for strength, properly staked at the gas key so it can't work loose under recoil, and put through magnetic particle inspection and high-pressure testing, 2 processes that catch hairline cracks in the bolt before it ever reaches a customer. Reputable budget brands like Ruger, Smith & Wesson, and Palmetto State Armory do all of this as standard practice. Some no-name, online-only lower parts kits from brands you've never heard of skip it. And that's genuinely the one place where cutting cost becomes a safety concern rather than a performance one. The real dividing line isn't budget versus premium. It's reputable versus unproven, and that distinction matters more than the number on the price tag on either side of it. Two more small details separate a well-built rifle from a corner-cut one, regardless of price. First, M4 feed ramps. Small angled cuts machined into both the barrel extension and the upper receiver, where the cartridge travels from the magazine into the chamber. Properly cut feed ramps are one of the biggest contributors to reliable feeding, and every reputable brand in this comparison, budget or premium, cuts them correctly. Second, the buffer tube, which is actually a case where mil-spec, the supposedly basic government standard, is often the better choice over a proprietary commercial spec tube, because mil-spec dimensions are universally interchangeable with aftermarket stocks, while commercial spec tubes lock you into whatever that one manufacturer offers. In this one instance, sticking with the plain, unglamorous mil-spec standard is the smarter buy, not the compromise. If you're finding this breakdown useful, go ahead and subscribe. We cover firearms history, engineering, and buying guidance like this regularly. Now let's talk about how long these rifles actually last. Durability mostly comes down to two things: how the barrel is finished and how much stress you're planning to put the rifle through. Chrome lining, the same treatment applied to premium barrels, resists throat erosion, the gradual wearing away of the rifling right where the bullet enters the barrel from repeated firing. That erosion is what eventually kills a barrel's accuracy over its service life. Chrome-lined barrels can maintain useful accuracy across tens of thousands of rounds under sustained heavy use, which is exactly why the military adopted chrome lining decades ago for rifles expected to survive extended deployments. Nitride-treated barrels, the more common finish on budget rifles, hold up well too, and modern nitriding processes have closed much of the gap that used to exist. But chrome still holds the edge for barrels headed toward genuinely heavy, sustained round counts. For most owners, this entire category is close to irrelevant. If you're shooting a couple hundred rounds a year for practice and recreation, both a nitride barrel and a chrome-lined barrel will comfortably outlast your interest in that particular rifle. Durability becomes a real purchasing factor only if you're a high-volume competitive shooter, a professional who trains constantly, or someone running a suppressor regularly, since suppressed fire adds extra heat and back pressure that accelerates wear. One more durability signal worth mentioning: warranty policy. Palmetto State Armory and Ruger both back their budget rifles with lifetime warranties, which tells you the manufacturer is confident enough in long-term reliability to stand behind it financially. That's arguably a better durability indicator than the price tag itself. And no matter which rifle you buy, some parts are consumables regardless of brand. Extractor springs, buffer springs, and magazine springs wear out over thousands of rounds on every AR-15 ever made, budget or premium, and replacing them is routine maintenance, not a sign the rifle failed you. This next category is the one that surprises people the most, because more expensive doesn't always mean more flexible. The AR-15's greatest strength as a platform is that it was built around standardized mil-spec dimensions decades ago. And most manufacturers, budget and premium alike, still build to those dimensions. That means a mil-spec pattern buffer tube, trigger group, pistol grip, and stock from nearly any brand will drop into nearly any other brand's lower receiver. The same is largely true of M-LOK handguards and free-float rail systems on the upper end. Buy a $500 Ruger AR-15s today, and you can swap the trigger, stock, grip, and handguard for aftermarket parts, with essentially zero fitment issues. Where this changes is with proprietary premium systems. Some higher-end manufacturers, LWRC being the most well-known example, build short-stroke gas piston systems instead of the standard direct impingement design, which improves internal cleanliness but ties your upper and lower to that manufacturer's specific components. A handful of premium builders also machine slightly tighter, non-standard tolerances into their receivers for a snugger fit. which can create compatibility issues if you ever try to mix and match uppers and lowers across brands. So paradoxically, if unlimited aftermarket flexibility matters to you, a mil-spec pattern budget rifle can actually be the more customizable purchase, not the more expensive one. The same logic applies to mounting standards. M-LOK, the slotted attachment system found on the vast majority of both budget and premium handguards today, lets you bolt on lights, grips, and slings from virtually any manufacturer without an adapter. Muzzle threads are standardized too, 1/2 by 28 for most 5.56 rifles, which means a budget rifle can accept the exact same muzzle devices as a premium one. Standardization, not price, is what actually makes this platform so easy to build around. There's one premium feature that delivers an immediate, tangible upgrade every single time you pull the trigger, and it deserves to be called out specifically: the trigger itself. Most budget rifles ship with a mil-spec trigger, typically breaking somewhere between 6 and 9 pounds with a gritty, inconsistent feel. Gaiselli's Super Duty, by contrast, ships standard with the same SSAE trigger the company built its reputation on: a crisp, consistent two-stage trigger that measurably improves your ability to shoot accurately under pressure. That's real, and shooters notice it immediately. But you can buy that exact same upgrade separately for around $150 to $250 and drop it into your budget rifle in about 15 minutes with basic tools. So the real question isn't whether a better trigger matters. It's whether you want to pay $1,000 premium to get it pre-installed, or spend a fraction of that upgrading the rifle you already own. Which brings us to the question that actually determines the right purchase for you. What are you using this rifle for? If you're plinking at the range a few times a year, a $500 rifle with a trigger upgrade and a quality optic will serve you better than an expensive rifle paired with a cheap red dot, because the optic and the ammunition you feed it matter just as much as the receiver underneath. If this rifle is stored for home defense, reliability and a good weapon light are what matter most, not half a minute of angle you'll never need at across-the-room distances. If you're shooting competitively, the trigger and the accuracy potential genuinely start paying for themselves in match performance. And if you're carrying this rifle professionally, where failure isn't an inconvenience but a real risk, the torture-tested pedigree of a Bravo company or Daniel Defense earns every extra dollar. Hunters fall somewhere in the middle. Accuracy at moderate range matters, but so does a rifle that won't let you down after being carried through brush and weather all morning, which is exactly the kind of everyday reliability the budget tier has genuinely earned in the last several years.